Hello guys, in this video I want to show you how to deploy a React application created using the create React app boilerplate to S3 and Cloudfront. I will also configure dynamic routing using React Router DOM package. In the last years, S3 policies changed a little bit. They introduced a block of all the public config by default. So I will show you how to keep your S3 bucket private and serve the React application using Cloudfront. So you will have both the HTTPS by default provided by Cloudfront, and also your website will be served using the edge location of Cloudfront. I will start by creating the React application and setting up some routing. If you want to skip directly to the deployment phase, I will leave in the description the placeholders to navigate through the video. Let's start with the create React application boilerplate. So I'm gonna create a new app. I'm gonna call it like my example app, for example, and this script is gonna create a new folder called my example app, and it's gonna install all the packages needed for the React application. This can take a couple of minutes, so I think I will pause the video in the meantime and wait for the script to finish. As you can see, the script has finished, so it suggests me to do my cd into the folder, and you're gonna see we have different files. The idea is we're gonna show the files using the Visual Studio application. So here this is the structure of the application. We do have our packages, and then the important ones are the npm start to start the application and the npm build to build the prod package where we're gonna basically deploy to S3. So let's start with setting up the app, starting the application. The script already installed all the node modules for you. That's also why it takes a long time. So if I run npm start, I should be able to see the website running. And it's gonna have, of course, like very basic stuff. I think it's like it's gonna show like a React icon or something like that spinning around. Yes, this is the application deployed by created by the create React app boilerplate. So it says edit source app.js to save and reload. Okay, so let's do it. We go on the app.js, we can get rid of everything. We don't really need it. And this is our app now. Okay, a blank page. Now from here, we want to start and set up some routing so we can see the dynamic routing working. And for doing that, we need to install the package called npm install React Router DOM. And from here, we're gonna set up some routing. If we go on the reactrouter.com quick start webpage, we can start from the very basic example, and this is actually what we're gonna do. So we're gonna copy the example and paste the code into the app.js file. We're gonna import everything from the React router. Actually, this is not the autocomplete doesn't work very well, so that's gonna copy the example and run again the npm start, so we can see the dynamic routing of the React application working now. Takes a bit for starting up. Of course, we need to define the about users and home pages, because here we are defining basically components like about users and home. So we can do it by setting up the like very simple function. I forgot to copy those ones, and it can be something very easy like this one. So now what is happening is that when we navigate through the link home, about, and users, what the routing is doing is actually displaying this component, which will basically is just an h2 title. So if we go here, you're gonna see that is actually changing the page, and if we reload, it stays on the same page. Okay, this is very important when we're gonna deploy the website on the S3 bucket. So we have our router working and our pages are changing. So let's see now from this very simple React application how we can deploy everything to S3. Okay, now that we have the application up and running with the routing mode, the routing working as well, the next step is to create the S3 bucket. So if we go on the AWS console, you go on the S3 service, create bucket. We're gonna call it my example app deployment. I don't know, S3, something like that. Actually, deployment I think is okay. Then you select the region. I'm gonna choose London. Then here is the new kind of policy where everything is blocked, and in some guidelines, in some blog posts, I saw that everyone is actually unchecking this point, but you don't really need it if you're gonna use CloudFront to serve your React application. So I suggest you to leave this one as default, so block all public access to the S3 bucket, because your users are gonna use your website, gonna reach out to your website using CloudFront Edge location. So here we can leave everything to default settings. The advanced not really interesting in this case. We're gonna create a bucket. Let's see if the name already exists. Okay, it's not been taken. Let's see this is the bucket where we're gonna deploy the React application. Once we have created the bucket, we have to now go through we have to go on the CloudFront service on AWS and create a new distribution. This can take, it will take actually up to 10-15 minutes. So we'll start the process and then stop the video. Anyway, this is the origin domain name, which means which origin is gonna use the CloudFront distribution to serve the content. This way is gonna be the example application that we just created. Origin path, we can leave it blank for now. No, this is not useful. Origin ID is, it's like description for the origin. And then here, this is important, restrict bucket access. I want my bucket to be private, so I'm gonna say yes, and I'm gonna tell CloudFront basically to create a new identity to access the bucket for me every time a user is gonna navigate to the CloudFront URL. And I can decide to update the S3 bucket permissions by myself, but I think it's easier basically to just leave CloudFront doing that for me. So I'm gonna select yes, update bucket policy. Then the other ones, we don't really need headers. Here I prefer to do redirect HTTP to HTTPS. And then we're gonna do, let's see, it's okay. We don't need any CNAMEs. It depends if you want to serve your website using another DNS, you will need to set up the CNAMEs in CloudFront, so he knows that he has to redirect the content to your DNS, to your domain name. And default root object, we will need to add the index HTML page. And I always forgot if you have to add the trailing, the slash, but I think it's just index in this case. So I'm gonna set index HTML, and if it's not correct, I'm gonna just change it after the creation. So I think we are good to start and hit create distribution. Yeah, the status is in progress. So yeah, I'm gonna stop the video, come back when this is done. I also want to add another thing. Back in the days when you had to host your website on S3, you had to basically set up the website hosting, static website hosting, like here, click edit, enable, and set up all the document like index.html and error.html. This is not going to be needed anymore because we're gonna have CloudFront doing that for us. So you can simply disable the static website hosting on the S3 bucket. Is not needed anymore. So let's see now the CloudFront distribution has been created, and we have our distribution deployed. Okay, perfect. Now we have to basically create the building package, deploy it to S3, and then S3 is gonna, and then Cloudfront is gonna serve the S3 content for us. As we said before, to create the build package, we just have to run npm run build, and it's gonna take a few time, like a few seconds. It can take like up to 30 seconds, depending on your application size, of course. In the meantime, we're gonna set up the package.json script to push the build package to S3. So the idea is to have something like, I don't know, client S3 deploy, and we're gonna create a new script which is gonna deploy our build folder to S3. So the idea is to use AWS CLI, which is AWS S3. We call the function sync, which is gonna basically sync our local folder to the S3 bucket. And here we want to sync the source /build/ what is inside build. So actually, sorry, the build is on the same root level. So I think it's just build. Then the next argument is going to be the S3 bucket name, which is, let me check it out. I think it was like my example app or something. Let me see. So if I order the bucket from here, okay, so the name of the bucket is my example app deployment. I'm gonna set it up, and then so the AWS CLI is gonna use your default profile, but in this case I want to use another one, so I'm gonna add an option which is please use this profile, which is a profile with I set up like a profile with only allowance to upload to that specific bucket. I suggested to do the same, so having like least privilege profile for each of the scripts that you're gonna build. So if I run now this script, I should see my build folder synced into the S3 bucket. Let's try out. So it's gonna be client S3 deploy. Yes. Also, actually, the correct option is just profile. I mistyped it, so I'm gonna do. Let's try again. Okay, as you can see, there is the. Let me zoom in a little bit. The upload here. It upload everything into the bucket. We can see the results if I refresh, and we have our website up and running, uploaded on the S3 bucket. So before navigating to the CloudFront URL, we also have to set up the error pages because we are serving the website and React application using CloudFront. So we have to create custom error pages for 2 errors. The forbidden one, and we're gonna set like a customized error response with a customized page, which is actually gonna be our index page. And we're gonna set 200 OK. We need to do the same thing for the 404 error. So we're gonna do the same customized error page index HTML and 200 OK, same thing. So this change is gonna again take a bit of time to show up. So let me stop for a second. Okay, the distribution has been updated, so it's been deployed. I can navigate to the URL and see if I can see the React application. So let's try out, and I still see the redirect to the S3 bucket. So I think I know what is going on. Let me try again to navigate to the CloudFront URL. And this is something that you may be facing when you first deploy the app. So let's see what happens. So I navigate to the, yeah, as I was thinking, there is the 307 code, which means that it's like a temporary redirect. And this is because the CloudFront DNS has to be updated with the S3 redirect. So it can take like up to 30 minutes to this error to go away. It takes a little bit to update the DNS for CloudFront and S3. And what is actually happening, as you can see from the URL, is that every time I navigate to the CloudFront URL, I'll be redirected to the S3 bucket, which of course is private. So I'm getting the access denied error trust me, you will see that this error is gonna go away in like 30 minutes, let's say. So again, I will stop the video and let you know. In the meantime, we can set up the CloudFront Invalidation. So every time you update the S3 bucket with new content, let's say you're gonna update your React application, you're pushing new changes to S3, but CloudFront doesn't know that. So you need to basically invalidate CloudFront cache. You can do that from the CLI of AWS again. So you can call AWS CloudFront create invalidation. You have to set the distribution ID, which we're gonna get on the on here on the CloudFront service. Then you have to tell CloudFront which objects and file you want to invalidate. Here in this case, since we are building a new package, a new build package, we want to invalidate everything. And then here I am again setting up a profile to call the AWS API from the CLI. The last step that I usually do is setting up these two command together. So something like client deploy, and every time I create a build script, so I will do something like npm run build, and when it's finished, I'm gonna do npm run client S3 deploy and npm run client CloudFront Invalidation. So every time that there is an update, every time I want to deploy a new version of the React application, I will call this command, and it is gonna build the folder, update the folder to S3, and run the invalidation to CloudFront. So I can have everything in one command. Okay, so it's been actually 3 hours since the last time I tried the website. Let's see if now it works. So I get the URL and I navigate to the website, and this time I can see that actually the React application is working. So this means that I'm not getting the 307 error anymore. And as you can see, the URL is the one from CloudFront. I'm not being redirected anymore. So it means that, yeah, 200, okay. It works as expected. If I can navigate through the different routes, even if I reload, it's gonna stay on the same route. So it's working as expected. So we've seen that the React application is working. Let's see now how we can actually update the application and use the npm run script that we just created. So if I go on the app file and let's say I want to modify something, and maybe we can add like a new route. So like something like, I don't know, like dashboard. I'm gonna change it, create a new link as well, a new route. So I'm gonna do something like this, dashboard, component, dashboard, and then I have to create the component itself. It should be a very simple one. And this one is this is the dashboard. Okay, so we can firstly see if it works locally. I suppose it works. That's a very easy change just to see how we can deploy a change. Now it's loading, and as you can see, we have a new route. So if I go on about users, and this is the dashboard. So we have modified the React application. Now what we have to do is to update our S3 bucket and invalidate the CloudFront cache. So we're gonna do that by running the script npm run client deploy. And what's gonna happen is gonna start the building. So it's gonna start the creation of the build folder. Then it's gonna update the S3 bucket as well. The build has been created, S3 bucket created, and now it's gonna call the invalidation on CloudFront. As you can see, there is a reference, and if you actually go on the CloudFront dashboard as well, we will see invalidation here that is in progress. We go here, details. We are invalidating everything. So as you will see, the online app now has been updated. with a new version. And I think here sometimes it's, yeah, okay, completed. Sometimes it takes very, very little time to update the cache, because here is just, a few files on the S3 bucket. If you have a bigger application, it can take more time. Perfect. So we've seen how to deploy the React application on S3 and CloudFront, maintaining the S3 bucket completely private. And actually we can see how the CloudFront distribution can access the S3 bucket. So if we go on under the, it's under the permission tab, we will see that it's private first of all, and then there's a policy here where the entity that we have created while creating the CloudFront distribution can access the S3 file. If you remember from the previous step, when we created the CloudFront distribution, we asked CloudFront to update the bucket policy. And this is the update made by CloudFront, basically, who's saying allow the entity with this ID to get all the resources into my S3 bucket. Okay guys, I hope this video was useful. Let me know which other deployments you would like to see with React, and if you have any comments, if you have any questions, feel free to ask on the comments. Cheers.